a key House vote taking place tomorrow on the Epstein Files Transparency Act. This is a bill that resurfaced after the government reopened and had really, they were trying to bypass leadership to get this to a floor vote. They finally got enough signatures on their discharge petition, which allowed them to bypass the leadership calendar for votes and force this to a floor vote. This all comes as the members of the House Judiciary Committee, the Democrat members, released a bunch of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein on the very day the House was voting to reopen the government. This has been something that President Trump, Jordan, has said, can we just let this go away? Why is this consuming so much of our political thought process when there's so much else going on in our country that needs to be addressed?
After the longest shutdown in history,
right.
But yet this is see the politics of it. Democrats fold after their election victories, and they fold without a message on the government shutdown. They get nothing in return, so they have to go to something else. Okay, so those election victories, I think people finally realize New York City and Virginia, that's not like game-changing for any kind of politics or what's coming ahead in the midterm elections at this point. And I think where President Trump was by Friday night is, you know what, I've got to get, as he said in his Truth Social post, I've got to get the Republican Party back on track, back focusing on the economy, delivering for the American people. So if we need to release all these documents so that they can do that, fine. Everybody go and vote this week to release all the documents. So for all that pressure that's been, Donald Trump doesn't want these documents out, or he wants some out but not all of them out. He literally put the message out saying, go, get this vote done. You get it to my desk. We'll sign it if you do. And all the documents will get out. They'll go through the committees. They'll go through the processes. So we can move on. You can let investigators investigate that.
I think what's interesting, and I think it was Chris Cuomo that did a video about this, that was basically saying both sides have kind of played the American people on this because when the Republicans didn't have the power to release stuff, right, they were calling on the Biden administration and the Biden DOJ to get this stuff out there.
You would think the Biden DOJ,
right?
If they thought that there was truly anything that was really damaging, not just these things, even that we've read in the last 2 weeks, that's probably not enough, right? I mean, it's not damaging enough. It's kind of like you don't even know if it's. You have to take Jeffrey Epstein's word for it. Which is not someone.
And Michael Wolff, by the way, of which
of writing down when he was writing,
exactly,
or was he spinning things? And so, at this point, we do know that from people that have said anything about interactions with Epstein and Trump, that Epstein was the bad actor, and that their interactions with Trump were nothing but professional, if not more than professional, because some of these people that Epstein would hire initially worked for President Trump, which is how he eventually kind of moved him out of the Mar-a-Lago scene and said, no, I've told you to stop doing this, stop hiring these people. They're all disappearing. And so you're out. You're not coming back here anymore. Whether he's a member there or just came there as part of other members in the Palm Beach scene, I think we get too affixed in those lines. But the truth is, the president has said, get it all out there. Go vote. I'm done. I'm done trying to tell you that this is a. I do think it's a distraction issue, is what President Trump said. But if we need to be distracted by it by a few more days, so that we can then get to back to doing the business of the American people, now that we've got the government back open for at least a couple months here, let's get back to doing everything we can for the American people through the end of this year.
And I think it's also important to look at the context here. Now that Democrats have all of a sudden, after for years mocking Republicans and conservatives that said this is such a conspiracy theory, there's nothing there. Now all of a sudden they're weaponizing it. And honestly, to some degree, that is what tells me that whatever documents there isn't the stuff that people that have been interested in this story are looking for.
Right.
Because one, if there are very powerful people named as clients in some sort of documentation, then how polarizing this story is, that would have been leaked or used against someone, because both sides have had power at this point in the timeline of this scandal. So if there was that information and someone had access to it, Washington, D.C. is the hardest place in the world to keep a secret. to actually keep something under wraps. If there was actual evidence of someone in power that had done something, or Jeffrey Epstein had some sort of leverage against these individuals, that I believe would have come out. So I think that there's the question there. We also know that the Trump administration went to court asking for all the grand jury information to be released, and a judge blocked that. So we don't necessarily know what files are here, what they are still, even by this legislation, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, what can come out. Because grand jury information, not to protect anyone in this case, but the precedent there of why a judge blocked it when the administration was like, we should get this out there, is because that is a sacred process. Right. And the public, it isn't supposed to be transparent in a way. So that isn't necessarily the judge protecting someone in this case, but is to protect the entire grand jury process, which is a very important thing to preserve in this country. So yes, the Trump administration tried to get that out. That was blocked by a judge. Now we're here. It's been this back and forth kind of political football that I think the president, rightly so, is like, can we be done with this? Can we move on? And if there is something that can come out, if there is something the DOJ could do, then they can do that. Yeah, but why does this have to be dominating our political system when we have a lot of big issues?
Well, this is what's going to be interesting. So once if the votes are actually taking place, and we see kind of how the votes come down, and it gets to his desk and he signs it, can really anybody complain anymore?
Right.
No. Now they can go through documents and try to find this and that will take time. But ultimately, the president is the one who greenlighted this, who said, you know what, I don't care how you vote, just go vote on this, get it to my desk, let me get all this out. And I think that ultimately that makes it tougher for the left now, because he's saying, I'm not worried about anything in here. And now the left is worried because he's talking about other people's names from the left who are also in there, the Bill Clinton types and others. And he's saying, maybe we'll have, some focus on this too. And then they say, oh, I can't believe he said that. Well, I mean, you're going to dissect all these names. The Democrats will on their committees, the House will on their committees if they do get this kind of tranche of documents, and you're going to find out on both sides of the aisle. The truth is, I'm hoping that this lets us move on so that we can start actually working on legislation and reforming legislation that actually benefits the American voter who got these people elected.
Jordan, when you also look at the things that are going on in this country, yes, if there's a major scandal with people that need to be prosecuted, sure, of course the DOJ needs to go after that. Actually, you see,
I think that we're just a lot more skeptical about it now because the DOJ's been going after senators. They've been going after Donald Trump. At the federal level with Jack Smith, they have had. And Crossfire Hurricane. I mean, God, we were part of that. Mueller team, President's legal team, and then of course impeachments after. He's even in office. I mean, we did the first one when he was in office. Chief Justice was there. Second impeachment, he's not even there. I mean, and so they're looking for another impeachment opportunity. It's all ways to basically prevent his administration from moving forward with any lasting change. You can keep doing executive orders. You keep running the executive branch. You can do a lot that way. It can just all be reversed very quickly if Republicans weren't to maintain control of the presidency following this president's term, which we're still 3 years away from finishing.
Yeah, and I think what the Democrats have missed in this story of why conservatives were interested and concerned about the Jeffrey Epstein scandal the entire time is that conservatives and Republicans and the ACLJ and groups like ours have been concerned about human trafficking for a long time. Yes. The left has not. That was why this story mattered.
Remember we talk about those issues with immigration and they would say that we're crazy and that we're making those stories
up?
What
you're seeing is, Jordan,
they do movies about it. They say those movies aren't real. That trafficking is not happening.
Headline from this morning, missing Florida kids among the 122 rescued during Operation Home for the Holidays. Yeah. Federal, state, and local agencies have rescued 122 missing or endangered children from Florida and 9 other states. So the human trafficking and missing children and child exploitation is still the work that conservatives are getting done and they are still focused on. So don't let anyone tell you that, oh, Donald Trump doesn't care about that, or Republicans are trying to protect predators by not wanting this. The most ridiculous, disgusting political lie you'll ever hear, because this administration is doing that work.
Yes.
And they are delivering on campaign promises. That is a big difference. The Democrats don't even know why conservatives latched onto this story and scandal in the beginning. It was because of our concern of what's happening in the United States of America, which is child trafficking and human trafficking. And that is something that is actually being combated very aggressively by this administration.
Yeah.